Khalid and Mansoor is an American. He is a lawyer by trade, but is also a businessman, a banker, and a financier. He is the recipient of the Phi Beta Kappa Award, which is the highest academic award in the USA, and he has many degrees. For example, he has a degree of the Doctor of Jurisprudence, and many others, far too varied to mention tonight. He's also listed in various who's who's, and I'll give you a couple. First is the who's who of intellectuals, and the second is the world's who's who in American law. He's also listed in the Royal Blue Book of London. The format for this meeting will be that Dr. Khalid and Mansoor will speak to us for an hour and a quarter, after which we will have an opportunity to put questions for 1 hour. I will explain the format when we get there, but without much further ado, I welcome Dr. Khalid and Mansoor to address us on the topic of Islam and Muslims in the West and how to overcome problems facing them. Dr. Khalid and Mansoor.
I do not regard myself as being an outstanding intellectual. I regard myself as being a servant of Allah. And I believe very strongly that through the prayers of all of us, those things that Allah would have us know will come forth. So that is my first request. My second request is that throughout the lecture, you demand in your mind proof and evidence for the allegations and the points that are being made. I think that for too long, we have simply accepted things without questioning, without analyzing. This is not what the Quran has taught us in respect to reason. We have been told directly from the Quran that when they come with their allegations, you must ask them for their evidence. And I would like you to do that for me. Do not look at me as just a stranger. I'm your brother, but I must have information. If I do not have information, I am wasting your time. So please do not be embarrassed throughout the discussion, and especially during the question and answers, to ask anything you want, in any way you want it. I do not know whether or not the Reverend Michael Marshall is present, but I've read in the Guardian newspaper that Bishop Michael Marshall has targeted the Islamic community to convert them to Christianity. And there was some reaction from our people saying, this is not nice, don't look at each other as the target for conversion. I say, look at me. If you are looking for a Muslim to convert, here am I. Why should I hide? Why should I be frightened? Are we really afraid that there's something so overwhelming that we will give up our faith in a day or an hour? Bring Bishop Michael Marshall. Spread the word. Tell the press, tell the newspapers. I'm expected to be here for about 10 or 11 or 12 days. I would very much like to meet, publicly or privately. And the only thing that I ask, bring your evidence. I will not engage in personality assassination. Bring your evidence why I should convert from Islam to Christianity. You may convince me, but it will be based upon the evidence. My brothers and sisters, I would like tonight to discuss the topic that relates to our assignment and our role as Muslims in a country that is not Muslim. What special challenges do we face? In order to do that, I would like to give a very, very brief summary of the early beginnings of the institution of Islam. I would then like to talk briefly about three general barriers or forces that emerged to confront the Muslims. One was colonialism and neocolonialism. One was Zionism in the past and the present. And the third is racism and nationalism. These three forces have challenged the Muslims at large and in England and in America and throughout the world. Notwithstanding those forces, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. The fastest growing religion in the world. Allahu Akbar. In addition to the spread of Islam throughout the world, Islam is the fastest growing religion in Africa, the fastest growing religion in the Caribbean, the fastest growing religion in America. It gives meaning to the Quranic expression, "This day art thine enemies in despair of thy religion. So fear them not, fear me. This day have I perfected for you your religion." A perfect religion. We are not perfect. The religion is perfect. The format is perfect. This day have I perfected for you your religion. And I have completed my favor. It's a privilege. It didn't have to be us. But I have completed my favor unto thee. And I have selected for you, for your religion, Islam. That is why I am excited. Of all the universe, of all the matter that makes up the universe, Allah in His infinite wisdom saw fit to select for you your religion and to complete a favor, a perfect religion, a religion that still defies the imagination. 1,400 years ago, in the country today known as Saudi Arabia, a man by the name of Muhammad bin Abdullah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was given a challenge. And the challenge was embodied in the command, Iqra, 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 read, recite. Around Arabia was Yemen, Christian, Sudan, Christian, Abyssinia, Christian, Syria, Christian, Egypt, Christian, looking at the challenge of Islam from those earliest days, it seems absolutely impossible. If anyone had come to us and said, join us in the challenge of spreading Islam, we would say, my brother, the world has enough now. Monotheism has already come. Christianity is already pervading. Judaism has already come. What chance would there be? But the vision and the message was so powerful and so strong that within 100 years, Islam covered half of the known world. Half. That same Yemen, Muslim. The same Egypt, Muslim. The same Syria, Muslim. Part of Ethiopia, Muslim. How could this have happened? Sudan, Muslim. It happened because of dedication to a plan that was perfect. And today, as I travel around the world, I delight in seeing the revival back to the original plan. We had to endure a great deal, but it was a privilege to endure for our faith. One of the things that we endured was embodied in colonialism. Europe decided, after the conversion of Emperor Constantine to Christianity, the emperor said Christianity must be the tool to dominate the world. We must convert everyone to Christianity. Why? Because Constantine wanted to rule the world. The religion was just incidental. It was a conduit. In the course of spreading Christianity, certain racial, ethnic, historical distortions occurred. We know that Christianity began in the Middle East. We know from the Bible the physical appearance of Jesus. It is set forth in the first chapter of the book of Revelations. John was on the Isle of Patmos, and he said he saw Jesus, and he fell at his feet as a dead man. And he described Jesus as he saw him. He wrote in the book of Revelations that his skin was the color of burnt brass, and his hair was like lamb's wool. In other words, he looked nothing like Constantine. He looked nothing like Pope John Paul. We are told that Jesus' disciples, namely Peter, traveled all the way from the Middle East to Rome. He had never been to Rome in his life. He didn't know anyone in Rome. The only rumors that he heard were Christians were being crucified and killed in Rome. But nevertheless, he went anyway. And when he got to Rome, he kept looking for some European to make the new pope. That's what we are told. And after he found the European to be pope, he went back to Canaan. But he told this man, don't ever let anyone who looks like me be pope. That's what Peter said. At least this is what we have been taught. We've been taught that all of the angels are white. Jesus is white. Adam is white. Eve is white. Mary is white. Joseph is white. Everyone is white. Because why? Because Constantine said that unless they're white, we cannot dominate the world. We want the world to believe in white power. We want the world to believe that all power is embodied and is epitomized in the white race, so that when we tell the people of the world to obey us, they will obey us. It's just as though they were obeying God. The lesson has been beaten into the world for so long. It is impossible to visualize an angel who looks like me. Ask any Christian to close their eyes and imagine an angel, then open their eyes and imagine me with wings flying around heaven. They cannot do it. Even Martin Luther King, who was a Christian, they cannot picture him flying around with wings. Because the religion was taken and used as a tool. That is not to say that every Christian is a hypocrite. That is not to say that every Christian is not sincere. It is to say that the religion as an institution was taken over and used to control the third world. And that's called colonialism. We were raped. We were murdered in the name of Jesus. We were told that we were inferior, unfit, and unworthy. And the only hope for our civilization was to adopt the religion of our slave master. So that throughout Asia, and Latin America, and Africa, in the United States, the message became repetitive. You must visualize the slave master religion as the only religion. That is the reason that there is so much shock and confusion in America. Because the slaves were told, if you do not eat the pig, you die. And if you don't change your name from Muhammad to George Bush, you die. The slave was given 3 seconds to comply or die. Comply or die. Give up your religion. You had 3 seconds. It wasn't a matter of conversion by persuasion. It was conversion by force. And the belief was that some of the most intelligent and eloquent men would represent Christianity in a way to propel a respect for the religion. Many of you may not know that Thomas Jefferson, who wrote All Men Are Created Equal, he wrote that, and it is called the Declaration of Independence. But that's not all he wrote. He was a prolific writer. He also wrote that the black man from Africa was genetically inferior. And he said that once slavery is dismantled, you must take every black in America and kick him out of the country. This is written in Thomas Jefferson's diary. The book is called Notes on Virginia. You will recall you are making me prove my statements. You're not taking them because Khalid Abdullah Tariq al-Mansour uttered them. You say prove it. Notes in Virginia. Thomas Jefferson said black people are genetically inferior. There are no exceptions. He said you must kick the black man out of America because he will be a sexual threat to the white woman forever. And we are told that we must listen to him because he was a Christian. There's a book called The Negro as a Beast and the Temptation of Eve that said that Eve was tempted in the Garden of Eden by a snake, and that snake must have been a black man. One of the bestsellers. The turn of the century. So America is surprised today, after all of the rapes, the taking of the Quran, the abuse that we endured. Now within America, Islam is the fastest growing religion in America. Allahu Akbar. No one can understand it. Mr. Itagaki, Yogo Itagaki, is a Japanese professor. He was sent on a mission from Japan to Saudi Arabia. And the Japanese Planning Commission, MITA, said that we must prepare for the future. And in the future, Japan will come under attack from the West, from the television, and we will have difficulty convincing the people to save 20% of their money as they do today. We will have difficulty in convincing the people to work 10 and 12 and 14 hours a day as they do today. We will have difficulty maintaining the moral fiber of Japan. So we must search the world for a solution. Their conclusion was that they needed a religion to bolster the people, to maintain their integrity, to maintain their ability to follow morality. So they examined Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And Professor Itagaki wrote a report, and he said, the religion of Islam has profound solutions to the problems facing Japan. And I recommend for the 21st century, Japan become an Islamic nation. No one can understand it. As they are bashing the Japanese and scolding them and abusing them for being efficient, the Japanese are looking to the future. What can save those people? They said, according to Professor Itagaki, Islam. So while the world is looking for the value and the power of Islam, we Muslims are failing the faith. The Chinese recently issued a decree. The decree said that Islam is an indigenous religion to China, and Christianity is a foreign religion to China. Indigenous. 1 billion people. What was the response from the Muslims? Nothing. We did not send postcards. We did not send letters. We did not say to the Prime Minister, Allahu Akbar, nothing. So in spite of us, Allah has created a force that cannot be stopped. A perfect religion, and you have been favored to be introduced to this great religion. Notwithstanding us, such a great religion that provides us with secret strategies to protect ourselves. My name is Khalid Abdullah Tariq al-Mansoor. I love my name. Khalid means eternal. Abdullah means the slave of Allah. Tariq means the right and the proper way. And al-Mansoor means the victorious. So every time you call me, it reminds me that if I will eternally be the slave of Allah and follow the proper path, I will always be victorious. What does John Smith mean? What does Margaret Thatcher mean? What does George Bush mean? So why would we trade the names of Islam for these names that mean nothing? I'm not saying that the personalities are bad. I'm not criticizing any of them. I'm saying the name means nothing. If you don't believe me, ask them. Ask Margaret Thatcher what her name means. The confusion of our mind, the excitement of emotions has taken us from the perfect religion. We have become ceremonial. But we are losing the essence of Islam, and Allah will judge us. Allah will judge us. The colonial experience dominated the world in a way that no one can imagine. In China, they wanted from this country to sell drugs in China called opium. The Chinese did a study. They said opium will destroy our society. We can't have it. What did Britain do? They said, we're going to war. We will kill you if you will not let your people have opium. That's called the Opium War. That's how Hong Kong came into existence, to give the British a permanent distribution center for opium. And now they say we're so dismayed at how rampant the drug problem is. in this country. History will reinforce whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Colonialism attacked Muslim countries and tried to divide the Muslims using superior military power. But the key was to penetrate your mind. You cannot constitute 20% of the world and rule 80% of the world forever. You cannot do it with all the nuclear bombs in the world. Russia, with its nuclear might, could not keep the Soviet Union together. You cannot rule the world with guns and military alone, and therefore the new strategy is to rule through the mind. Make a person want to be a slave. And as colonialism dominated North Africa and West Africa, they began to infiltrate the Muslim mind in India, in Asia. And we began to feel inferior in spite of ourselves. We don't like to talk about it. It's sensitive. Say, well, brother, you don't have to talk about that. I'm talking about it. The colonial experience penetrated us and divided us and caused us to look at each other as though we were less than brothers. And the colonial experience started adopting the defining characteristics of the caste system. Vanu means color. The darker you are, the lower your caste. The white people just put themselves at the top. They said, this is a good system, just put us at the top. Don't change anything. So the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, and the Shiva, and the Sudra was kept in place, but we were divided against the tenets of Islam. The colonial experience believed that somehow they could dominate us forever. When it became apparent in the second half of the 20th century that you cannot do this, the next mission was the mind. Then you had Zionism. Now I know this is really delicate. You're not supposed to say anything, right? Don't ever mention Zionism. If you do, whisper. I'm not whispering. I'm talking about the facts of life. Judaism began in the Middle East. In the 12th chapter in the Jewish Bible of the book of Genesis. And God said to Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house unto a land that I will shew thee. And I will bless thee and make of thee a great nation, and thou shalt be blessed. I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee, and in thee shall all nations of the earth be blessed. Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3. The religion was set up on a biological plane. Those that were related to Abraham were to be blessed. Biologically related. Who was related to Abraham? Both Isaac and Ishmael. Who was Ishmael's mother? An African. Who was Ishmael's wife? An African. This is set forth in the Jewish Bible. I didn't write that. That is in the Jewish Bible. Who did Moses married an Ethiopian. That's in the Jewish Bible. If Judaism started by black people 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, 90 to 100% were black, how did it become 90% white today? It's genetically impossible.
Brother, you know that we are in the mosque. We haven't declared. When you express your feelings, you say Allah. That's much. Thank you.
Zionism was taken over by Europeans, the same as Christianity. You will get a black president of South Africa before you get a black pope. In 740 AD, a group of people in the land of Hazan converted to Judaism because their leader, King Baloo, was being pressed by the Christians and the Muslims. And he said, if I join one or the other, we're going to have to fight. I don't want to fight. We're a business community. We want to have peace with everyone. So he said, the best way out, conversion. I see the skepticism on your face, so please let me give you a book so that you will feel a bit more comfortable. The book is called The 13th Tribe, written by an outstanding Jewish intellectual named Arthur Koestler. And he described the conversion. He describes the letter that was written to King Joseph, asking King Joseph, are you biological Jews? And King Joseph wrote back and said, you must be dreaming. We are not biological Jews. We are from Japheth. We're not even Semites. We are from Japheth. Written by King Joseph. Mr. Koestler concluded that 90% of those who call themselves Jews today are not Jews biologically. 90%. That's why Menachem Begin doesn't look like the Falasha of Ethiopia. That is the reason that Golda Meir does not repeat the statement of Solomon in the Bible. When Solomon said, you daughters of Jerusalem, don't look on me because I am black, but I'm beautiful. He said, I'm black but comely. That means good looking. Solomon. Golda Meir won't say that. What she will say is what she said in San Francisco when she came to the Fairmont Hotel while she was the prime minister, and she said, we need more white Jews in Israel. Too many black Jews. We want to get the blacks out. That's what Golda Meir says, not what Solomon said. Why is it important? It is important because if a promise for land, if you accept the Jewish version of the Bible, is made to Abraham and his seed, and Shamir is not of his seed, and Menachem Begin is not of his seed, and all of those Russians that are coming there now are not of his seed, on what basis can they say that they're entitled to the land? They have distorted and twisted in order to steal the land that they have no title to whatsoever. Now, in order to take that land, they have to attack Islam. In order for the Christians to expand the program, to dominate the world, you have to attack Islam. Why Islam? Why not attack Buddhism? Why not attack the Ramakrishna? Why attack Islam? My brothers and sisters, Islam is under attack because it's a perfect religion and it stands for brotherhood. It says no race can be over any other race except by the works to Allah. The rulers of Christianity. I'm not saying every Christian. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm saying the rulers, those who design to use Christianity in a political way, do not want to hear about Islam. It's a threat. The same in India. There are Hindus who say Islam, we don't care about the other religions. We can even get along with Christianity. But Muslims are talking about brotherhood. And if the outcasts know that they can be in a religion and be a part of that religion as a full brother, they don't have to walk in the shadow of anyone. That will undermine the whole system. So we can't have it. They say that the Muslims will bring with them an accurate picture of history because they have traveled all over the world. They know what the real history is. So we cannot afford for Islam to grow. In spite of us, Islam is growing. In spite of the pounds, and in spite of the people in France who are trying to segregate and abuse people of African descent, Islam is growing. Now, I'm at the end of my address. I'm not finished. I'm just coming to the end. What about us? As Muslims today? As I travel around the world, I see good news and I see bad news. The good news is people are becoming more and more interested in Islam. That's good to me. The bad news is many of us Muslims are a disgrace to the religion. We still have the vestiges of colonialism in our mind. We've been brainwashed. It's deep. It's easy to say Allahu Akbar. It's easy to go through the ceremonial aspects of the faith. Making Hajj, Zakat, you can do that. But we're talking now about going into your mind and examining yourself honestly the way Allah is going to examine. Allah will just simply put you on the scale on one side and put the truth on the other side. You can be the most articulate lawyer in the world, you will not out-debate Allah. You can't say, if it weren't for my wife, if it weren't for my children, they just made me so uneasy and they created so much stress. That's why I changed my name. I went to work and there was so much pressure in my work. They say, are you one of those terrorists? How did you get that religion? It was just easier to change my name because I wanted to be promoted. I had two names, John Smith on the job and Muhammad Ali after work. The Christians aren't changing their name. When they go and work in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, they're not changing their name because they are embarrassed. They are saying, this is our name and this is our faith. Every day they go to work. We are the ones that have been intimidated by colonialism. 300 years. It's a long time. In our mind, it's in our tissue. 300 years. You know what I've seen? It probably doesn't happen here. But it happens sometimes in the United States. And it is not acceptable to Islam. In the United States, a few white people convert to Islam. When they convert, they are put on a pedestal. Do you see this man? He used to be a white businessman. He's now a Muslim. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. But when a brother converts, they say, oh, no, I don't believe that.
Brother, there is time for you. So give him his time, please.
My point is that it comes from 300 years of colonialism. The European wanted to take over Islam, the only major religion that Europe hasn't taken over. They took over Judaism, they took over Christianity, and you see the results. That's why I want Bishop Michael Marshall to meet me. I don't have anything against him personally. I have some questions to ask him. I want him to tell me, explain to me, and just tell me what the Bible says. If he doesn't know the Quran, he can talk about the Bible. I feel comfortable either way. "300 years. Telling you every day you're inferior. Telling you every day that religion is nothing. And taking some of our own people and telling them you can go to college if you just change your name. We have a good job for you if you would just kind of disassociate yourself from those others because they're not ready. We thought you were different. You're not like the others." Some people, if you want to see them smile, tell them that. You're not like the others. We can't help it. We want to look straight, but we just smile and say, well, in the South, I'm like the others. And I'm never going to change. I want to be like the others. I'm going to be like the others. All the Muslims in the world, I'm going to be like the others. Do you know some of the Muslims, when I travel around, have started drinking alcohol? They don't want me to tell it. I'm telling it all. There's one country in Africa, most of the taxi cab drivers are Muslims. And they watch all the Muslims when they come visit. And they take them to the bar, so they know. So when I talk to the Muslims, they say, brother, you can't be old-fashioned. Yes, the Quran says alcohol it's not wise to have alcohol, but it doesn't mean it quite that way. It's not totally forbidden. It just means it's not wise. I want to ask you a question. If Allah were here tonight, would you offer him a drink? Would you offer him a cigarette? You know inside of you what is acceptable to a Muslim and what is not. We are taught about destroying our body that Allah has made, and cigarettes will destroy your body. You can't tell a Muslim from a non-Muslim by watching their behavior. That's why the young people are leaving the faith. It's the hypocrisy that's driving them away. It's watching their fathers and their parents in the home when no one else is around. They see you, hear you arguing and heaping the most abusive names upon one another, and then saying it's time for prayer. We should be able to know the Muslims because the people should tell us. The employer should say, I will hire a Muslim before anyone else. Why? They're the best workers. The grocery store should tell us. The restaurant should tell us when they come here, they're so polite and they're so kind and they're so orderly. This is Islam. This is not what they say. They say, oh, those Muslims coming, you've got to be careful. This is a disgrace. A disgrace. It doesn't make sense criticizing Judaism and Christianity when we are living sometimes worse morally than they are. Throw the alcohol away, period. And the cigarette, and stop the profanity. And develop for our children a model of respect. We have some pressing challenges here in England. And we need our energy and time to devote to those challenges. Serious challenges. We need to return to the tradition of reading. You know, some Muslims are the most illiterate in the world. You know what people think of us? You ask them, what do you think of the Muslims? 1, they're terrorists. 2, they're backward. 3, they don't read anything. 4, they eat everything. And 5, they never keep their word. And then you say, will someone become a Muslim? Why should they want to become a Muslim looking at us? Why? Colonialism said it's not important. Colonialism is dead. We must now return to the deen as it was provided. We have to return to the basics. The basics is to read. Some people pray in Arabic. They read the Quran in Arabic. They don't know one word of Arabic. Now that's good for discipline. It's not going to help you understand anything. So learn Arabic so you know what you're saying. And until you do, get a Quran in English. Allah's not going to punish you. Understand what you're saying. Learn Arabic. But before and until you learn it, get the knowledge in your mind so you know what you're doing. Throughout Africa, we send Qurans and Qurans. People do not know what is in the Quran because they don't know Arabic. And we should not confine ourselves to reading the Quran. The Holy Quran tells us to seek knowledge everywhere and anywhere throughout the universe. That means physics, that means chemistry, that means computers, that means history. This is what made the Muslim nations of old great. The world came to us to ask us if we would share knowledge. Read the writings of Ibn Battuta. We were the geographers. We sailed from West Africa to Mexico hundreds of years before Columbus. And the Mexican Aztecs made monuments of us so that their children would never forget the Muslims, the Mandingos, who sailed there to bring to them knowledge. When Cortez and Columbus came, there were 25 million Aztecs. When Cortez and Columbus left, there were 2 million Aztecs. 23 million were eliminated. So the Aztecs did not build any monuments to Cortez. But they did build them for the Mandingo. We don't even know about it. We don't see the pictures. The prayer cap down in Costa Rica. Over 800 years old. The statue of the brother praying in Costa Rica, coming from Africa. The pictures are there. So I tried to put them in my book so that you could see. 13 books I have. I write only during Ramadan. The last 13 Ramadans, 13 books. Ramadan coming up, I'm waiting now anxiously because it's another chance for another book. Last Ramadan was the most glorious experience I ever had. I mean, it was like walking in the heavens every day. 12, I've never done it before. 12 hours a day, I sat down in one spot and wrote. I didn't believe I could do it. 12 hours a day for 30 days. Praying and meditating, saying, Allah, don't let me forget. Please remind me all of your knowledge that I can contain. The book ended up 900 handwritten pages. The name of the book, Welcome to Islam. The year before, a book entitled The 7 African Arabian Wonders of the World. over 130 pictures. I had to put the pictures in so people would believe. People have to know who that statue was, carved into the mountains, 100 miles from Medina. The people in Saudi Arabia said the statue is of Petra, the son of Ishmael. If that man looks like Ishmael in any way, looks like me. I put the picture of Jesus, minted by Emperor Justinian in the 4th century AD, the oldest image there is. Look what Jesus looks like on that image. We put it in the book, The 7 African Arabian Wonders of the World. Not to show off, but simply to say it's time that we return to the basics. You have to read. Our children should be getting the highest grades in the UK. That's how you should know a Muslim. You should just go to the secretary or the minister of education and say, give me the names of the top students in the UK that should be Muslims. Because we're dedicated to knowledge. Chemistry, physics, zoology. This should get us excited. We are dedicated to knowledge, but we have slipped. And now we're dedicated to the television. Television is like drugs. It's hypnotic. Captures you and divides your mind and does not provide you with the proper substance. We must go back to the basics, read and reason. And let us live the Islamic life. Our relationships with our mates should be exemplary. Shouldn't have all of those arguments and chaos in the home. Read the hadiths about the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What was his life? What did Aisha say? He was willing to serve. He was a man of humility. He was a man of understanding. That's the model. But we have said, no, we will step on the woman. Do you know your place? And do you know who I am? This is just absurd. There's nothing in the Quran that justifies such ignorant and backward and perverted behavior. How do you expect your children to want to be Muslim after living in that kind of household? They see this and it's disgusting. If the children are disgusted, what do you think Allah is going to say to you? Our nutrition. We're killing ourselves. Junk food. Anytime a person has the audacity to tell you to eat junk food and you eat junk food, it's amazing. Junk food. Grease. Do you know that the average hamburger has 16 teaspoons of fat? 16 teaspoons of fat, one hamburger. Your system cannot digest it. So you end up getting strokes, rheumatism, arthritis, heart attacks, cancer. One soda pop, Pepsi-Cola, Coca-Cola, a 12-ounce can has 10 ounces or teaspoons of sugar. So do you imagine in the morning taking your son and saying, here, I have for you breakfast. Here's 10 teaspoons of sugar. And when you're finished with that, I have 16 teaspoons of fat and lard. Then here's some bread to wash it down. The Muslims used to be at the vanguard of nutrition. We have slipped. But it is not too late. We are talking now about coming back home. Whether you're Arab, Africans, doesn't matter. We are Muslim. We are coming back home, and you're going to incorporate the faith that has been perfected. Not long ago, a brother called me from the United States, and he told me he had a breakthrough. he had found that if you take 22 of the most nutritious foods, some of them we don't eat because they don't like the smell, we don't like the taste. He took the 22 best nutritional food, took out the nutrients, converted it to a powder, and made it available. I tested it. I couldn't believe it. The energy was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I find myself eating less. When I started about 4 or 5 months ago, I weighed 148 pounds. Some of you see me come to the mosque, and you see my face puffed up, and the stomach, and the fat along the sides. I thought that as you got older, you didn't have any choice. That was just a part of life. I weigh now 128. Didn't do any dieting. No fat. Feel like I'm 18 years old. I couldn't believe this. So the names came out: Come Alive, Stay Alive, Look Alive, Feel Alive. These are the products that were put in. Just put it in a tablespoon into juice 2 times a day. It gives you every vitamin and mineral that your body needs. It has protein and carbohydrate. A Muslim trying to bring us back to the fold. When I came here, I told the brother, Shaheed, get some Come Alive in here, because I might get tired. Get me some Come Alive and Stay Alive. Bring the Muslim community back and open up some jobs. People that have stores and restaurants, come alive. Let's bring our people back to where we should be. Where we should be economically. We have to get networked. We don't know anything about the Muslims in Russia, the Muslims in China. We got to come together like everyone else. The Jews are organized all over the world. The Christians are organized all over the world. We are the only ones divided. We need to become economic giants. Bring the whole community together. Let's open up jobs. Let us build and let's advance ourselves. Let's look out for each other. Let's plan. The brothers in Russia should not be starving. We Muslims should be studying what they need. We should be manufacturing it. We should be transporting it. That's our brother. China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Latin America, Africa. We are one people. It is time for us to return, forget the colonialism. We're not going to let the Zionists destroy us. The colonialists can't destroy us. The racists can't destroy us. Why? Because we have the perfect religion. Assalamu alaikum.
My only request to you, brothers and sisters, is not to go along and alhamdulillah, what a brilliant speech. Act upon it. Bring back Islam to the forefront once again. Now's your chance to put questions to Dr. Khalid and Mansoor. I would request all those brothers who have questions to please make a queue on this side. You have 1 hour in which to talk to Dr. Khalid and Mansoor. As he said, you can ask him anything you like. But please try and ask him something related to what he said over the last hour of the course. If you have any questions, please come up to the front and let's go.
My request to our brothers would like to ask, please make it a question, not a comment, not a new lecture. Please make it a question. And I'd like to ask our brother Khalid, was Jesus a black man or a white man?
Well, I have, fortunately, the picture that the Emperor Justinian minted on a coin to make his appearance obvious to all. And when you look at that picture, you will see that Jesus looked so much like me, he could be my brother. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Walaikum salam.
My question is not to you, brother, is to Brother Imam. Jazakallah khair, he said that this is a mosque and we shouldn't clap our hand. But I am so sorry because about a week or 2 weeks ago, it was I don't know, minister of Egypt or somebody from Egypt, and people here clapping hand and nobody tell him stop not clapping the hand. Assalamu alaikum.
Let me just say that since it's not a question, I'm not going to answer it, but I am going to say this, that the purpose of my being here is not to clap or refrain from clapping. The purpose of my being here is to bring us back home. And if we are back home, if we have any extra time, we'll talk about clapping and not clapping. Right now, we got to get back home. So may I have the next question?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
If you perhaps bear with me in a second, you will see that you can't ask this kind of question without talking a little bit. You were saying that they are calling the Jewish in Soviet Union to come into Jerusalem, wherever. But you see, brother, can we find a way? If they can have a way to get to Jerusalem, can we find a way, Muslim, to get closer to our brothers in Palestine? Either it is in Palestine, either it is the brothers in Algeria, to get closer to them so that we can have a common plan to destroy the enemy.
Anyone who has read my books, you know how I stand on the Palestinian issue. I think that the Muslims have a responsibility to the truth. What has confused the issue is that the Zionist community, in their strategies, have been able to brand anyone who doesn't agree with them as anti-Semitic. And because it's easier not to be controversial, most people just shut up and they say, well, let them have it, it's just a small piece of land, let them have something. My position is that historically, when the Zionist group came to ask for land from the British said that will be difficult because that land belongs to the Arabs. But what we can do is that we can give you Uganda, because that's just the Africans, no big deal. Originally, the Jews were going to take Uganda, not Jerusalem. Then they said Jerusalem symbolically enables us to mobilize more support, so they rejected Uganda. Then they were offered Mozambique, because it was a colonial experience. They didn't ask the people of Uganda, would you like to have some Jews come that you've never seen before? They're coming from Europe. How would you like to have them? They just simply said, we are the colonial power. If we say to the Ugandans, you are going to have some guests, you better treat them like guests. Or the people in Mozambique. What they did in Palestine was the same after the Second World War. After the Second World War, with all of the euphoria and the guilt that surrounded Hitler's killing of the Jews, this was used to tell the West, if you want to make up to the Jews what happened to them, give them a little piece of land in the Middle East. I say that if Hitler killed 6 million Jews, give the Jews part of Germany. The Arabs didn't kill 6 million Jews. But if you were to go to the British or the French or the common market and even suggest in a whisper that they give the Jews part of Germany, you will be assassinated. So it was a colonial experience. And through the West in the United Nations, they have denied the rights of the Palestinian people. Let me tell you what is fair and just. We are told, as human beings, that Saddam Hussein of Iraq came to Kuwait and took over through aggression Kuwait. And the United States said to Saddam Hussein, you have 6 months. You will either be out of Kuwait or you will have bombs, cluster bombs, bombs from B-2s to devastate your country. 6 months. When Israel went into the West Bank and Gaza and took that land illegally, and when the United Nations said to Israel, you have taken the land illegally, you must give it up, the West didn't say you had 6 months. From 1967 until today. And United States alone has given Israel from 1967 until today $77 billion. Not bombs, not airplanes, $77 billion. A double standard. Why? Because the Palestinians are not white. It's the highest manifestation of racism. The Palestinians have only us to look to, and we have failed them. We have become intimidated and silenced. Occasionally someone will whisper something. Isn't it a shame what the Israelis are doing? They're bringing Russians who have never seen the Middle East in their life. They have no blood there. They said God gave them the land. They've never been there. They don't know what the land looks like. They know nothing about the region or the area, and they are destroying the country. Over 60% of the water in the West Bank and Gaza goes to the Israeli settlers. They want to run the Palestinians off the land so they can say, well, no one was here. We tried our best to talk to them. They're just terrorists. They won't talk to us, so we took the land. And we cowardly Muslims, cowardly, they should pass out baby bottles to the Muslims. 1,200,000,000 Muslims in the world, and we all need baby bottles. But I tell you, my friends, when that same process comes back on you, when they start in England, saying that all the people of color get out, and you want the Muslim world to come to your defense, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. You cannot justify your silence. There is no way that you can justify seeing the Holy Land, the mosque, Aqsa Mosque, being abused, people being shot in the mosque. How can you pray? They have turned us against our own priorities. Now, before I leave here tonight, there will be some people who will come and pull me to the side and say, brother, please, we have good relations in England. You keep that stuff in America. We don't have any antagonism here. We want understanding. We're a peaceful people. I didn't ask you to do anything. I said, find out the facts. I didn't tell you to march. I didn't tell you to hate anyone. I love everyone. But find out the facts. They have stolen that land over there. The same as Europeans went to South Africa. Now you can tell the Europeans, you did not have any right to that land. People say, well, that's right, but we're surprised you found out so soon, after 300 years. They're building settlements on the land. After they get all the land with settlements, you think they're going to leave? They'll be so interspersed, when they sign some treaty, they'll say, yes, we'll sign, but don't touch the settlements. These people have a right to be there as much as anyone else. This is the greatest travesty of justice in the 20th century. The 20th century. It is an abomination. Now, what I would like you to do so you don't get in any trouble, I want you to be peaceful, and I don't want anyone attacking you. You tell the Zionists that I'm here. Tell them I'm in England. So you don't, they say, what do you think about it? You just hum. Don't say that, because you'll get in trouble. They'll put your name in the paper. They'll say these people are radical, and don't say anything. Just tell them, well, the guy, I don't know that much about it. The first time I actually heard it, I wasn't listening too carefully. You know, maybe he has something worthwhile. But then you tell him, why don't you bring some of the most intelligent Zionists you can find in England and debate them? Then let the people decide. They did that once in Columbus, Ohio. They have never done it again. I have the video. In Columbus, Ohio, on television, they wanted to debate. There's 2 against 1. 2 of them and 1 of me. They got, for every minute, they spoke 3 minutes. But they were not pleased with the results. So tell them, you just tell them, you're confused. Say, a man came here from America, he confused me. I used to think that the Zionists were not racist, and then I thought they were racist, and now I don't know what to think. Why don't you get someone to come on the platform? There'll be no violence. I'm not a violent man. We just want the facts. Let them give their facts. I will bring my facts. You decide. Let the people, let the Jews, bring the Gentiles, bring the Muslims, bring the Catholics, bring everyone, and let the people decide once and for all who owns the land of Palestine. And if you say God gave it to you, tell me when he gave it to you and who was present when he gave it to you. How many witnesses were there? Yeah, bring it. All the information. Because I'm going to be talking just from the Jewish Bible. When God said he was sorry he made the Jews. When he said they were an ignorant, stiff-necked, backward, sinful people who killed all the prophets that he sent to him. I'm going to ask him one question. Was God anti-Semitic? Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah. You have mentioned in your speech that only the descendants of Abraham will rule Palestine. Do you actually believe that?
No, I said that they would have a homeland in Palestine. There's a difference between having a homeland and ruling. There's nothing in the discussion from Jehovah or Jehovah Jireh, as he is sometimes called, regarding a state. Even when the Israelis asked for a king, it was explained to the Israelis by Samuel that this is not good for you. They said, we want a king because everyone else has king. They said, you shouldn't really do a king. God doesn't need you to have a king because now you have a theocracy where you are following the blueprint of Jehovah. Why would you change this process to bring in a man-made structure of a state? But they insisted so that they got it. But there's nothing in the Bible that ever promises anyone a state or that they could rule. There is a promise, conditional promise, that says that as long as you keep the commandments of God, he will provide for you in this geographical region a homeland. And the Jews continued to disobey the commandments of God, and he continued to kick them out of the land. The question now is he prepared to consider even bringing them back again? That's one question. If he does bring them back, in what form? If it's a homeland, you're a guest, just like Abraham. When Abraham wanted to bury some people, he went to the Arabs and said, here's some money, can I buy this cave in order to bury the dead? That's a homeland. That's a guest, but you recognize the ownership belongs to someone else. Before Abraham got to the land, the Moabites were there, the Hittites were there, the Amorites were there. There's no time did the Jews buy the land. And so today, if there's a claim on the land, where does that claim stand for? In answer to your question, I have never, nor will I ever say, unless it is shown in the Bible or the Quran, that God gave to anyone rulership and domination in that land. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
From hearing your speech, I begin to hear a lot about sort of what color the prophets were. But as Muslims, we shouldn't really worry about what color the prophets were. The main thing we should concentrate on is what message they came with. So I'd like to know what is your opinion on that.
I think that's very good, but the reason I mention it is because some of the prophets mentioned it. So if it didn't mean anything, why did they take the time to talk about it? The Quran said that Allah made the tribes and the nations so that we would know each other and not despise each other. There is nothing in the Quran that says that we must repudiate our tribal identity. And that is the reason when the Prophet ﷺ, before he died, he said to his followers, we must always remember the Copts. Who were the Copts? They were the Africans. They said, why should we remember the Copts? He said, because I have their blood in me. Now, if it's not important, why did he say it? Next question.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Alaikum salam.
My question is probably related to the last question. Research has shown that Islam among the Afro-Caribbean people is the fastest growing religion in this country.
Allahu Akbar.
Me and brothers work on a program to try to attract our people to Al-Islam. But when we go out to our people to attract them to Al-Islam, we are accused of being racist. We are accused of being people who do not think of other people in the religion. And I want to know what is your opinion on us setting up programs to attract the Afro-Caribbean people to Al-Islam.
First of all, let me say to all of you that Islam is for every people on the planet. Islam does not discriminate against anyone, male or female or any race. That is the genius of Islam. It's a universal religion. Nevertheless, the world is not a universal, cohesive world. You have Africa, you have Asia, you have Latin America. We are told in the Quran that Allah has sent to the world messengers to every nation. Some of them we know, some of them we do not know. The Prophet ﷺ said that he had a mandate to whom? The reds and the blacks. Why didn't he say, I have a mandate to the world? Was he prejudiced? Of course not. He can't do everything. He said, I know my mandate, and I'm going to execute my mandate. But there'll be someone else with a mandate for others. So there is nothing, in my opinion, wrong with looking at the peculiarities of your mandate. If I go tonight to Scotland, and I'm talking to an all-European group, I better first learn Scottish history. It's just intelligent. I will learn about the family traditions, when the Scots came to this country, how long they've been here, what kind of suffering they've had, so that when I talk to them from their history. But if I just say to them, we're all human, that's enough, I don't know whether I'm in Scotland or not, it doesn't matter if I'm in Scotland or not, I will be talking to myself. If I go to India, where I went when I was a junior, a sophomore in college, 1957, and I wrote a letter to Nehru, and I said, I want to talk to you, because you're a wise man, I want to learn something. And he wrote back and said, come. And he talked to me for an hour and a half. I first learned about the Indian culture so that I could respond. I learned a lot from him because he took the time out to teach me, but I had to have a framework to bring the information into meaningful cognition. Islam is a universal religion, but if I go to Pakistan, let's just talk reality. If I go to Pakistan, what am I going to do first? I'm either going to tell the people I am of Pakistani descent. They can't tell. I can find people in Pakistan look just like me. Why do they look like me? Because some of the first people in Pakistan were of African descent, of the Harappian people. 10,000 BC. I have the picture in my book. If you don't believe that person in that book is an African, there are no Africans. And then there are between 2 and 3 million Shidi people in Pakistan tonight. In the month of March, the Shidi people will face Kenya where they came from, and each year the Shidi have a celebration. These are people who recognize their African roots. Shidi, every March. They've been doing it for about 300 years. If I were in Pakistan in March, I would look right with them. When I'm in the Middle East, I would look right with them. Because my relatives from our tribe. So whether I'm in Africa or the Middle East or in Pakistan or India, I'm home biologically. When you take the whole third world, I have their blood in me. When everyone melts together from China and India, they're going to look like me. I'm biological third world. I got everyone's blood. Brother, let me tell you now, you go with your mission to the Afro-West Indian. When they're all converted, go to the Afro-West Indian Asian. When they're all converted, then go to anyone else that needs help. You go and take care of your family. Because we have been brainwashed. We were Muslims before we got to the West Indies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We were Muslim. We are not finding a new religion. We are going back to our religion. This is ours.
Yes, sir.
It was stolen, and we want what was stolen returned.
Yes, sir.
And your job is to go and bring what is ours.
Yes, sir.
And don't apologize to anyone. Anyone that doesn't like Muslims being converted, let them talk to Allah. You don't have time for that. Concentrate on the goal. The goal is to restore Allah's children to their birthright. And anyone that has a problem, let Allah talk to them.
Yes, sir.
Don't stop the work. Next question. I just came from South Africa last year. We talked to the Zulu. I had to study the history of the Zulu. You know what I found out? The Zulus used to be Muslims. They still have Arabic words in their language. They have a halal system of slaughter. The Zulus. 6 million of them. And they're looking at Shaka. Shaka's not a Zulu word. There is no Zulu who can tell you what Shaka means in Zulu because it is not a Zulu word. How could a man who is the leader of 2 million people take a word for a title that no one's ever heard of? Doesn't make sense. The man's name was Sheikh. We know what that means. And that's what he did. And I told the Zulu, and the Zulus start saying, Allahu Akbar. If I hadn't studied the history of the Zulu, how could I communicate? I'm going to be going to Russia soon, and China soon. I'm studying the history of Russia and the history of China. I can't go there just say Allahu Akbar. I don't speak the language, so I have to learn the history and the culture so we can talk, so that we can give the same message of Allah anywhere in the world, but we first have to read. That's what Ibn Battuta did. That's why Islam spread in those days, because we went informed. We went prepared. Now we don't read. We're ignorant, but as of tonight, we are going to change. Allahu Akbar. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
With the proliferation of Muslims to the West, essentially to their former colonialists, both forcibly or voluntary, I'd like to ask, is it permissible or indeed possible to reach or establish our goals and objectives as Muslims in the West through the present political, social institutions present in the Western societies, be it Parliament in Britain or Congress in the United States?
My answer is yes. I think that the first thing some of the people in the old country don't appreciate, that living as a Muslim in the West is not exactly the same as living back home. See, if you're in Saudi Arabia, you go to an Islamic hospital, you're working for an Islamic employer, you get excused to have prayer 5 times a day. All of these things are part of the culture so that Ramadan is open to you, although some people abuse it. I mean, they stay up as late as possible, eat the last meal as much, they try to eat for a year, and then sleep all day until it's getting ready for the sunset, not just Saudi Arabia, but in the areas where the Muslims have been in control, we have taken something that's precious to the faith, and we've made it a ceremony. We don't know the meaning. We have lost the meaning. It's the greatest institution that ever was, Islam. Now, in the West, we have a different set of problems. Most of the times we're working for non-Muslims. So if you try to pray, people are looking at you and they say, what is that? Why are you wearing those crazy clothes? And those women with those long dresses, what is this? You must be one of those terrorists. You're not going to get a promotion if you act this way. So that the lifestyle means that you have to carve out for yourself the same commitment and dedication, and you must exhibit it in the same way. So Ramadan, don't go to bed at night stuffed with food. That's a good way to have a heart attack. You destroy your biological system. So in Ramadan, we should lose weight, not gain weight. We should be meditating. It's a serious part of the year to realign your personality. All those things, the little pollution that's been storing up in our body, we have 30 days. It's like tuning up a car for 30 days and realigning the wheels and painting it and going into the engine, fixing everything up. That's Ramadan, a gift from Allah. We're not going to make Allah any greater. I hear people saying, Ramadan, I'm sacrificing for Allah. You ain't sacrificing for nothing. Allah is already the greatest. We are the ones that benefit. It's His mercy that enables us to realign our personality, to get rid of the evilness, the jealousy, all these little schisms. You go to this mosque and they don't want to go to that mosque. You go over here and they say, well, I don't trust him. And the imam, he didn't look at me right. I think he has... We need Ramadan. But if you're watching TV all day long and stuffed with food all day long, you're going to keep nodding and going to sleep and get hungrier and hungrier. So you don't purge your system. You don't look at your shortcomings. You don't go into yourself and say, Allah, help me be a Muslim. Show me the guide. Let me read and feed my brain through the Quran. Let me take these 30 days. They are precious. And that keeps you for a whole year. That gives you the strength to endure a whole year. A different situation. We have television in the West. Worse than drugs. So now we have to use Ramadan to help us balance that devilish electronic device. We can network. There are many people in the old country, they don't have the universities and the libraries that you have here. So we should be encouraged to learn all that we can to reach back to our people in the homeland. We're talking now about networking. So when kids go to school, they have a purpose to learn, not just to be a doctor because of selfishness. They're saying that I'm going to contribute to 1,200,000,000. Do you know what the United Nations has projected? The United Nations says that in 65 years, 1 out of every 2 persons born in the world would be born a Muslim. If there's no conversions, if no conversions anymore, 1 out of every 2 persons will be born a Muslim. The country of Nigeria in 65 years will be the 3rd most populous country in the world. Now the question is, will we be good Muslims? We have an opportunity because we're facing things that our people in the old country won't get to for 5 or 10 years. If we set the stage here, we'll be able to show them how to avoid destruction. So I say yes. It's more difficult in a certain sense to be a Muslim in the West, but to me it's more rewarding. We're told that you just have to do a little gambling, or if you want a job, you have to go and take a little cocktail, or else the people are not going to, they won't like you. And you should cheat a little bit. Get a girlfriend. You don't have to do it every night, but you should have a little bit because this is the West. Doesn't make sense. I'm not perfect. I'm not a saint. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. But there's certain things that are not even temptations. I mean, drinking and smoking, I don't have to weigh that. Should I not? Cheating on my wife, it's just not even a temptation. Some things may be temptations. You have to think about, this is a business deal. Am I lying just a little bit? Let me go back. But drinking, smoking, this is nothing. You're the beneficiary. So it's not a temptation. I say I am thrilled that I grew up in the West because I got a chance to have my Islamic teachings refined. I had a chance to look through the ceremony and know what I need to survive. The ceremony is wonderful. It gives us a sense of unity, but I know what I need to survive. I need 5 times a day to pray. I need that. Some of the people in the old country, they don't put as much stress, but I know what I need. I need Ramadan. When we get ready for Ramadan, Ramadan is just next month. I'm getting excited already. 30 days, I need it. 30 days, Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. 30 days, and I'll be in the middle of Ramadan. We in the West can do that. We will have a greater appreciation. We will have a greater appreciation for brotherhood because we have more opposition. In the old country, people aren't encountering external opposition every day. We have opposition, and believe me, it's going to get worse. So you're going to be forced to unite even if you don't want to. In the course of doing it, you will respect how the people who were the companions of Islam in those early days felt. You will know how Abu Bakr felt and Omar felt when they came together. We will reestablish the community based on love. You see, sometimes we don't even speak to each other. Come to the mosque, run in and run out. We don't take time to know each other's names. We don't know how we are getting along. Does someone need help? We're too busy. That's the West. But when the West starts persecuting you, you are going to look for help. You're going to be screaming. So then you go back to that fundamental plane of brotherhood and love. These, then we share them with the old country. Say, look here, come to England and see how Muslims, how close we are. So that when they start fighting in the Middle East, you know, sometimes they fight. And sometimes in Africa they fight. We tell them, come to see us. We don't have divisions. We don't ask people what sect you are because the Quran said those who sow discord and create sects, Allah is going to punish them. So we are one people, no division. We have people from Africa, people from Asia. We say, come and see us at the mosque. See how beautiful we are together. Yes, it's a challenge, but can we do it? Absolutely. Thank you very much. Next question.
We have a question here from the ladies. We have two
All right.
14-year-old girls, and we study religious education in school. One of the things that we were asked to do was, what would it take to convert us to Christianity? What I would like to know is, what would it take to convert you to Christianity? We saw a video, and it was about a man who died, went to a kind of place that was heaven, so he then was taken to heaven. Later he was brought back to life. What we want to know is that possible? And it's in brackets that this man was a friend of our teachers. Can we have your opinion on this?
The question, first question, what would it take to make me a Christian? That's an interesting question. If you mean by Christian someone who believes that Jesus was sent to earth because of something that Adam did, I can never believe that. I believe that if I did something, Allah will punish me. But if you did something, Allah is not going to punish me for something that you did. So that the crux of Christianity is that Adam disobeyed God, so Jesus came to give up his life so that we can be saved. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's number one. So until the Christians can explain that, they will never convert me. Secondly, they will have to explain why Jesus answered the lady. A lady came to Jesus, and she said, I have only 2 sons, James and John. I love my sons very much. I'm dependent upon my sons. When you get to heaven, would you please put one on your right hand and one on the left hand? Jesus said, woman, you don't know what you ask. I cannot do that. The only one that has the power to designate places in heaven is my Father who is in heaven. So if Jesus and the Father is one, if the Father has the power, then Jesus has the power. So that anyone, before they can convert me, has to explain the Trinity. They say if you blaspheme the Father, that can be forgiven. If you blaspheme the Son, that can be forgiven. But if you blaspheme the Holy Ghost, that cannot be forgiven. If they're all one, it doesn't make sense. On one occasion, Jesus told Peter, I'm going to be coming back again on earth. Peter said, I'd like to know when you're coming. He said, I don't know. The angels don't know. The only one that knows is my Father who is in heaven. So if they're one, how can God know and Jesus not know? So until they can explain the Trinity, they cannot convert me. And I've been asking people to explain, not the followers, they're sincere, I don't want to debate them. I want the experts. I want the bishops and the archbishops and the pope. That's who I want. And the rabbis. Those who have spent all their life studying, because they have an advantage over me. I haven't studied as much as they have. But they have to explain these things before I can even consider being converted to Christianity. That's why when you see Bishop Michael Marshall, who wants to convert the Muslims to Christianity, tell him, please start with Khalid Abdullah Tariq El Mansour. I'm a candidate. Don't start with my daughter. She's only 9 years old. But I gave her the name Aisha because I can't be with her every day. I can't be with her. So she's going to go to school. Some of the people there are not Muslims. They're going to ask her to do things that I wouldn't want her to do. But when they ask her, they're going to say, Aisha, why don't you do this? As soon as they call her name, they will remind her of the life of Allah. So her name will remind her her obligations to Allah. I'm not suggesting that we take names just because they sound foreign. We have names because they have meaning. They protect our children when we're not present. Christians, they have to show me why their names don't mean anything. They tell me that George Bush is a Christian name. If it's a Christian name, find it in the Bible. Jesus never said George Bush or Margaret Thatcher or Major. He said Assalamu alaikum. Some Christians don't even know that. In the book of John, the 20th chapter, the 19th verse, and it's repeated again in the 21st verse, that Jesus said to his disciples, peace be unto thee. And Jesus didn't speak English, so what did he say? Next question.
Assalamu alaikum. We thank you very much today, this evening, that you have been with us. And what I was trying to say was about Jerusalem. I've been into Jerusalem in 1963 from London. At that time, it was under Jordanian rule.
Yes.
And Jewish were allowed to go to the Wailing Wall. Now the Jewish they've taken over Jerusalem now. So why don't they allow Muslims to go to Masjid al-Aqsa?
Well, you have to ask them.
No, another thing, no, I have to ask the 56 Muslim states through you, because you are the orator going around the whole world. So I'm asking through you whether you are good offices or you can lecture through all the Muslims of the world to tell them that from Mecca, when they all gather to Mecca, they do have money to spend. Why can't they, all of them from Mecca, go to Jerusalem, go to Masjid al-Aqsa and have asked for their right?
Well,
And no, up till now, since last 25 years, nobody, no Muslim has exercised this right. We are all, ordinary Muslims.
If you read one of my books,
we are not politicians.
If you read one of my books, I have suggested that the Muslims go on a march. There are 1,200,000,000. We'll just take about 10 or 20 million, and we will march to Jerusalem, unarmed. So then the government of Israel has a choice. Kill us, 20 million unarmed people who are only going to pray, and if we get there, we may not leave. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, there's enough of us who are Africans who are becoming Muslims, yeah? But it seems like many of us, when we become Muslim, we throw away our identity. We become like Arabs or we become Pakistanis, yeah? I'd like to know what's the best way to deal with this problem. Secondly,
all right.
What's your opinion of birthday Muhammad, the son of Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
All right. First question is, to me, anthropologically, if people interact, you give some and you take some. It's natural. When I go to Mexico, I start speaking Spanish, I start dressing like the Mexicans. It doesn't offend me. That doesn't mean I change the color of my skin. I'm still a black man. But I am looking at the Mexican, and I'm saying, let me find out what he's doing. Those things I like, let me incorporate it. They're nice. When I go to Pakistan, I'm going to borrow from Pakistani culture. And I will expect the Pakistan who comes to my home to borrow freely from my culture. I think that the interaction, the dynamics of interaction is a natural thing. It's an ongoing thing. And I think all groups should open up. I think that at one time when Islam started coming in America, it was taught that everything that we did as blacks we should suppress. So we shouldn't listen to music. But I went to Saudi Arabia, they listen to music in Saudi Arabia, they listen to music in Egypt, so why I'm the only one not listening to music? No, nothing wrong with the music, it's the words of the music. So then let's just change the words. They have constructive words, but I don't want to give up my music. It took thousands of years to develop that. So I'm saying that if we reason and are intelligent and we think logically, we will learn from each other. This is, to me, the genius of Hajj, where you bring people together so that they can open up. And don't say, well, I'm going to keep everything, you don't come near me. No, this is what I have. If you think I can improve, let me know. Let me look at what you have. We can do the same thing. Warith Muhammad, I think that the gentleman has created a step in the movement of Islam that I think is very helpful. I think he has demystified much of the Islam that prevailed before. And I think it was healthy. I understand the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I was never a member of his group, but I understand the context in which he lived, and I can understand the programs that he developed. And I think that these programs addressed particular needs, and I think that he did it very well, and there's no one, in my opinion, that's been able to duplicate some of the achievements of this man. On the other hand, I think that if you acquire a philosophy that alienates you from 1,200,000,000 people in today's world of conflict, when we are under siege, this is not the best approach. So I'm saying Warith Muhammad enabled the world to understand the Muslim in America is your brother. And the Muslims now starting to learn Arabic. The traditional classical approach to Islam is being adopted. They're still keeping some of the things that Elijah Muhammad taught because they're realistic. He taught them not to smoke, not to drink, take care of the families, stay away from the credit system. That's sound. You don't want to just throw it out because he taught it. You take those things and you compare it with the Quran. Everything that's in the Quran, fine. We want to use it. I hear some people that have criticized, but when you travel around the world, you find that culture is interspersed in the religion. So some people in different countries have brought their culture in. Now I think that what he has done is good, it is positive, it is constructive, and I think we need now to go the next step. The next step is let's take it to the world. Right now, when people from America, like myself, travel in Europe and travel in Asia, the perception is that I either have to be a drug addict, a criminal, or someone has to teach me how to pray. So they come and grab me and say, look, my brother, good to see you. You know how to pray. I understand that. Because this has been the history of the past. Now I'm simply saying, if we don't make a contribution, why should anyone listen to us? One, I think that we should make a contribution. So when this brother, a Muslim of African descent, developed all these products come alive, I said, wonderful. Take them all over the world and let them know that the black American can contribute, like the Arab, like the Pakistani. When I won't call any names, I've gone to mosques where they won't let a person of African descent give a khutbah. He is forbidden. This is not Islam. On the other hand, I understand the history of how that arose. I understand the best way to correct it is not just scold people and beat their hands up. Learn Arabic. Learn to read. Establish a business. Hire some people in the mosque in your business so you develop a respect. Achievement is the answer. Performance is the answer, not excuse making. Not flunking out of school, dropping out of school, talking about how bad times are, running to Saudi Arabia, saying, please, can you help us? We become beggars. That's right. We can't even build a little school. We have to run to Saudi Arabia. Please, what happened with the Prophet? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Man, 53 years old, carrying bricks to build a mosque. Let's go back to our roots, reclaim our dignity, and stop the begging. Stop, just stop it. You make people hate you. We'll suffer a little for Allah. It may take a little longer, but when we do it, it's done right. Don't be going to the Middle East every day saying, please, please. This is disgusting. Because when the Middle East didn't have any oil that they knew of, and they didn't have any money, how many of you went to the Middle East and gave them some money? How many of you went to the Bedouins in Saudi Arabia and said, I've been thinking about you all night, I couldn't sleep, here's some money? You just dismissed them. Says poor ragheads, they out there, they deserve it. Let's be human. Let's be proud people. Let's maintain our dignity. Let's contribute. Let's make sacrifices. Let's use self-help. And let's get the job done. As Sheikh Ahmed Didat says, get the job done. Next question. 3 more questions in 8 minutes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother, you talked about the importance of the Muslims uniting for us to get over our obstacles. How would you say we deal with elements within that are opposing the masses of the Muslims?
I think the best thing to do for those who are within opposing is to do the same thing that our Prophet did. He exhibited the Islamic life. No one can overcome performance. No one. People can get jealous for a little while, they can backbite for a little while, but the reputation of a man, this is in the Quran, the reputation of a man and your character, how you treat your brother, how you live will be recognized for its merit. So don't use division as an excuse to become discouraged. Allah is the greatest. And Allah will reward us, and Allah will reward our efforts. I'm saying we got a mission now. This is no longer a ceremonial colonialism. We know where we're going. We are taking over. Not to exploit, not to plunder. We are taking over to fulfill the will of Allah, to show the world what peace really means. Allahu Akbar. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
We've been a number of times been told by yourself and Sheikh Hamadidat and a lot of other people to invite people to Islam. And also I've tried to done that also with especially reading namaz and calling people to the prayers, but I've found it's very, very difficult in the Western world to do that, especially if I can mention the burden group. It's been very, very difficult, especially the brothers from the African and the Asian descent. They are not just doing it. I just want to know how I should go about inviting them.
First of all, I would say don't give up and don't be discouraged. Because seeds that you are planting now may take 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, but they're going to blossom. The truth is going to win out. You may not get the credit. They may wake up one day and hear a speech, or they may read a book and say, I'm going to be a Muslim. But the reason that they understood that book is because something that you said. So continue to invite them, exhibit the life that they become envious of you. They start saying, I want to be like this brother. One of the reasons that I like these Come Alive products because I can go to people who are in pain. They have rheumatism and arthritis. I tell them, why don't you try this? After 2, 3 days, the pain is gone. They're happy. The pain is gone, but stay alive. Then I say, why don't you come with me? They say, can we give you money? I said, no, you paid for the product. Just grab my hand or let me pick you up and bring you to the mosque. Because if you think Come Alive is something, wait till you see the spiritual come alive. So don't stop. Don't be discouraged. You're on the right track. Next question.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Brother, I'd like to ask you a question. Do you think that emphasizing so much on black people being so great, which undoubtedly they are, may create this black nationalism?
Well, I have to describe the history of the world as it existed. Secondly, I'm not sure I understand what black nationalism is. If you take Africa, you have over 50 nations. So I'm not preaching black Ghanaianism or black Nigerianism or black Kenyanism. These are states that are already there. I think that without a knowledge of the past, it is difficult first of all, to appreciate what Allah has done. And secondly, it's difficult to project your future. The African people now are some of the poorest in the world. We're the most backward in terms of education. We have some of the greatest indices of social disorganization. And the question is, how are we going to solve that? If we look at the historical evidence, there's a book called Christianity, Islam, and the Negro Race. It was written by a brilliant man of African descent born in the Virgin Islands, and he was sent to Liberia because the white people in America, the white Christians, wouldn't let him go to school there, so they sent him to Liberia. He learned Arabic in 3 months. He learned Greek and French and Latin. He went to Lebanon and Egypt. He started scolding the Arabs for bringing colloquialism into the language. Said, that's beautiful classical language, you should never let it deteriorate. The man was well respected, the first African ambassador to England, St. James Court. He is given academic awards from England, from France, and from Turkey. That is the man. He studied Christianity and Islam as it impacted on West Africa. And he described how the Muslims came from Medina and Mecca to West Africa and what they taught the people and why the people opened up, accepted Islam, and developed the best societies. That's what he taught. The people who came from Mecca, Medina were proud of their African heritage. They came and lived with the people. They came and married with the people in Africa. That's how the deen was spread. It was not spread by saying, let's not mention race. Allah said He made the races. He made all of the colors. He made the tribe. He made the nations. He knew what He was doing. Now, there's a difference between racial pride and racism. When you cross over to think you are better than someone else, that's racism. That's condemned by the Quran. But as long as I recognize my history and give Allah the credit, this is racial pride, there's nothing wrong with it. When I found out that a young boy, 12 years old, died in Kenya, and they found his skull. Most of the body remains that they find of people dead in the old years are just maybe 10% of the skeleton or 20% of the skeleton. They found 70% of the skeleton of this 12-year-old boy and the skull. And they used the potassium test to date those remains. And this man, young boy rather, lived 1,600,000 years ago. I was glad about that. I said, Allahu Akbar. That doesn't mean I'm a racist, that I'm against any other race that didn't come out of Kenya. But it's saying that I simply recognize that I'm a part biologically. Why do the Arabs talk about Ishmael? They say we are of Ishmael descent. Ishmael is the father of the Arab race. Why? Why not ignore all of history? Just say we are people and we go forward. Theoretically, one day we will do that. But in the interim, what happens to those who have no racial pride? They become a victim of drugs. They become a victim of crime. Racial pride is healthy as long as we keep it in perspective and give Allah the credit. Tonight, I'm not dwelling on the history of Africa. I'm mentioning it. One of the speeches that I will give you, the real history. Most people are shocked because they have no idea what Africa, why the Chinese said that the history of China begins with African people in Southeast Asia. Why the Japanese said that unless you have African blood in you, you cannot be a true samurai. What about the Arabian people? What about the Mandingos in the New World? These things I will talk about later, but not tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been very kind. I'm your brother and I love you very much. I'm going to be speaking. Would you get the list of speeches? Because all of them are different. Some of you say, well, I don't have to come back because I've heard them now. No, you've not heard them. You've heard one dimension. I have many dimensions, and each night a different topic. There are Qurans there. The Qurans help this group to do their dawah work. Buy a Quran If you have one already, give it to someone. But buy a Quran because it's the only way that they have of subsidizing. They're not begging. They could come here and just pass out a little envelope and say, no, they don't want to do that. They're saying we want to have something to sell so that you can see that these are people of pride and dignity. I've been with them for the last couple of days. I listened very carefully. I watched them in their home. I want to see everything. Their wives, their sisters, their uncles, how they treat each other, so I can have an opinion. Because I do not, everyone knows me, I don't do no exaggeration. I don't believe in diplomacy to say I like you just because it's the proper thing to do. I don't do that. I don't think Allah condones it. What I have seen to date, these brothers are committed to the spread of Islam, and the Qurans that you buy, and the Come Alive is not there, but it'll be here in a couple days. If you got a story, put your name, sign up. Come alive and stay alive. That is going to help these brothers do the da'wah work. Please let me see you tomorrow night, because you inspire me. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Can we just have your attention just for a few minutes? As Dr. Khalid suggested, the lecture tomorrow is at the Harrow Central Mosque, actually at 7:30 p.m. on the topic of the role of young Muslims in the Western world. Also on Sunday at 4 p.m. at the Brent Town Hall, he'll be talking on human rights and Islam. Thank you very much for being here. Just to wind up, we'll ask Sheikh Zahran to say a dua.
Owner of this car.
Okay, we'll do that.
I think that they solved it.
Well, solved it. Solved it, finished.
They told me that it is solved. Can you read it? I'm very sorry, I can't. My eyes is not helping. حميد مجيد ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين تواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.